I mean, look, UFC's never done a $19 million gate. Boxing's doing 20 million gates with regularity.
Fuck Espinoza. And it's about time that shitty product is off the air.
Congratulations on what I assume will be the UFC's first $20 million gate with Conor's return. Is that true? Is it going to break 20 million?
Yeah, it's already way over 20 million.
Congratulations!
20 million.
I am a pacifist. I don't like confrontation, but obviously if I get paid to do it inside of a cage to provide for the family, I guess I'll keep doing it, You
don't like it. So it looks like they're going to sell way over 20 million, according to Dana White, for UFC 303 McGregor versus Chandler.
Mm-hmm. It's not that surprising. Like, I want to know if that's just ticket sales from people who can buy tickets in a regular way. Like, we open this up to the public have spent over $20 million on the gate, or if it includes like VIP packages and things like that, because just saying from the Jake Paul Tyson fight, they have a ticket you can buy that costs $2 million, which is the first time that's ever happened. But if there's a bunch of tickets that cost 500,000 and they sold 100 of those, like, then you're talking, no wonder the gate's massive. But this is the kind of fight, the return of a superstar, you can charge ridiculous prices because you're going to get your celebrities, your rich businessmen, Luke's dad.
My dad does not have the money. My dad would go absolutely bankrupt. But it's interesting because we're always talking about McGregor's star power and whether we feel like it's the same or not. And this kind of proves that we're just talking out of our arse. He still is the biggest star in combat sports, definitely in the UFC.
Well, I think,
and it's like, if you can come back and command I know obviously prices are not set by McGregor, they're set by the company, but he's commanding, a 20 plus million gate already. It's sold out. It's obviously these events are always sold out according to Dana. Whether they actually are or not is up for speculation. But yeah, to get that amount of money in that early, it does say a lot how anticipated McGregor's return is.
I was going to say, you say that we're talking out of our asses. I'd say, like, if, people who watch the podcast, comments recently, whenever we bring up McGregor, it's like, stop talking about him. He doesn't deserve a title shot. Obviously, we're always talking about it from the perspective of what we think the UFC is going to do.
Yeah.
But, guys, like, people are...
Well, I mean, if you're talking about historic gates, why would you not talk about records being broken?
Exactly.
I don't know.
But I think it's also because it just has casual appeal as well, so you can shift those tickets to people who aren't going to spend that much on other things. People, I don't know what it is about combat sports, but people want to have been there. Celebrities want to have been cage side for that. I mean, I know we all want to be there to watch the fight, but
are you sure about that?
Yeah, but there's also like a level of prestige, I think, that comes with being like, oh yeah, I was cage side for the McGregor fight. Like, people want to talk shit, so they will spend their pennies. Like some people buy watches. I'm going to buy a ticket to this fight. Same thing.
It's just so interesting, like that casual appeal, like you were saying, because he has transcended the sport and he is kind of a star. I was joking, but also saying earlier that this is probably the worst McGregor fight to ever go see, because he's coming off such a layoff. He's had a broken leg. We haven't seen what he's like after that. Obviously, I know he says he's healed and he's training 100% and all that, and we see him kicking the bag with his bad leg. But like, he's in an actual fight with a guy who fights like he will not survive after it. So it's like, this is going to be McGregor's toughest fight potentially in his career because of the challenges he's had to go through beforehand. And, he's older. He's been out the game. Is he going to be rusty? Some people don't believe it's real, but I'd say there is something in ring rust. So it's a lot. It's a lot of money to invest. Obviously, people will love McGregor and they will support him just because of who he is. But it's interesting how he's still able to demand that, even though, if you're a big fan of the sport and you follow it a lot, would that just put you off of it straight away? You'd be like, I love McGregor so much I'm willing to pay, or I kind of don't see this as a worthy investment from the results that may be. Because if you go out there, support McGregor, and he gets cleaned in the first round because he just gets caught by something, then it's like, that's like, 10 grand on a ticket.
Every penny.
Yeah, it's like gone down the drain.
You mean worst in terms of...
There's no real implications. This is McGregor's star power at its biggest, just phoning in an event. He's getting given a guy where he can leapfrog potentially into a better position, but a guy that's going to put on a show and fight potentially in a style that favors McGregor. You know, there's no run up to this. There's no season like he's always talking about. There's no real kind of prospects right now for him. It's like all the challenge is on him fighting Chandler, and he can get through adversity of you know, the leg, his camp, coming back into the octagon. Because what is there hype? Like,
Yeah.
if you think that way?
Yeah, I don't know, mate. That's $20 million at that gate. I reckon there's no hype.
If we're looking at this now, $23 million is what Alvarez versus McGregor in 2016 did. So, I mean, Jesus Christ, fuck inflation, am I right? That's $6 million gain over the course of 8 years, less than 8 years.
Sounds about right if I look at my bank account. Yeah, I feel like I've lost that much money just in general.
That is a valid point, because if we're just saying 20 million, then yeah, this won't actually break the record. In fact, it will be, yeah, of course, behind 229. That's what you would expect. I mean, New York is a massively overinflated market as it is anyway, so that makes sense that it would be really high. But it really just depends on what Dana's saying here. He's saying it's way over 20 million.
Mhm.
So to the average person, 500,000 is way over. But does he mean millions? Are we looking at like 26 million? Like, you know, I don't know. But what do you guys think that this says kind of about the sport right now, the popularity, McGregor, all of that? I mean, at minimum, I mean, it's definitely number 3, because behind that is literally UFC 100, 16.5 million. So it's a far cry behind it.
I think it almost says more that you're going to have like 3 of the biggest gates of all time within inside of like 4 pay-per-views, 299, 300, and then 303. Like that's 4 pay-per-views, and it's 3 of the biggest of all time. And they've all taken place this year and all within the last couple of months. So that's definitely an indication that they're doing something right. And also that the fan base has never been more switched on to the fact that, you know, the UFC is happening. But it also suggests, again, that prices have never been higher. So there's that.
They're going to sell out, and they can charge whatever they like. And obviously, when you have McGregor, who hasn't fought since, when was it, 21?
Yeah.
When he fought Poirier?
He
I
fought
can't
that
remember.
diamond guy, I think, and he
Exactly. So he's coming back in 3 years. It's like you can kind of just charge whatever you want. And especially with the gates, how they've been recently leading up to this event, it's kind of just, obviously there was an occasion around 300 and things like that, but it kind of seems like they're just only just going to keep going up and up and up. And I think sooner or later, it isn't going to be the average fan who can see these fights. You're going to have to be some kind of investment banker or...
Well, so let's actually look at this then. So what you were saying was a good point, that the average fan is kind of getting boxed out in these. So we should have, it should be the T-Mobile tab there, Zach. So he's pulled up the absolute outer ring. So we're talking about like the nosebleed section. Go back to the last row just to see it. Axis is the official partner.
So this is about as far away as you could sit. And it's 1.7.
1.7K. Yeah.
Wow.
So $1,700. And when we've gone to UFC shows, when I've gone to them, I was at UFC 229. I was at UFC 286 last year. We bought our tickets all through Axis. This is where you go through.
Yeah.
But that's crazy.
This isn't the aftermarket at all. This is $1,700 for nosebleeds.
But we just worked out earlier that the average price is going to be 1,000 if there's a 20,000 seater and over 20 million. The average price is 1,000. The furthest seat away is more than 1,000. So it's like,
how is that price
they
getting
haven't
down?
sold it all out yet, basically.
Well, and I guess the question is this good or bad? And answer that as openly as you want
It's
to.
great. The sport's getting more popular. I don't know.
I mean...
No, if you're a fan, it's bad because you can't go and watch the UFC. It's not like, it's like football. You used to be able to go watch the football. All of a sudden now it's so expensive. If you don't have a season ticket, you ain't got a chance.
How much does it cost to go to a football soccer match?
Arsenal, I don't know what, over 100 quid for a ticket? Yeah, you basically need to be a season ticket holder, which also is very hard to do. But the UFC would, like, people ask for that for the UFC for England because that's how we do it in football. Because when they come to England and they put the tickets on sale, they disappear to like scalpers and bots immediately.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big part of the supply and demand. You know, we were chatting about this earlier before we came in here, and just the idea that there is no home team in MMA, like it doesn't exist. You might have a promotion that you go and watch. That's obviously totally different. You're getting to see in your average sport on, it depends on the sport that it is. If you have like 82 games like you do in hockey in one season, NBA season goes on forever.
Yeah.
There's only a few games in the NFL. Just depends on what sport you're actually talking about. But generally, you're at least going to see a few home games in your specific city a year. Even for the lowest of schedules, the smallest, most minuscule, activity.
And how much is like a year's ticket? It's probably not even that much. It's probably like $2-3 grand. I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh yeah, and of course, just for the morbid curiosity, and I'm sure these aren't even the most, the highest prices, but we're kind of gawking now at what Zach's pulled up, which are some of the closer sections, and we're looking at the 15,000s, which is not unheard of because, you think of Mayweather-McGregor, and you certainly think of something like McGregor versus Alvarez. You were seeing ticket prices in this range, but for the morbidly curious, that's the farthest range that we can at least see. From what I saw, the Forbes put out a report saying that 12,000 was the cheapest VIP ticket.
Right.
And Tom and I have done this when we went to UFC 229. So obviously a massive card. That was number 3 on at least what Wikipedia has down for highest gates ever. And man, we were around 1,000 for our I mean, it's kind of insane to think 12,000 is the minimum.
But it's not targeted at, I feel like, the normal person anymore. Like if it's 1,000 or 2,000 for like a cage side seat or a VIP, it's like for a fan that really wants to go, that they can go. It's now targeted at like rich, wealthy people.
Yeah.
It seems like the rich dude's son who loves McGregor is like,
that's
for my son.
basically it. Yeah, which is again just a hallmark of how popular the sport has gotten, though. So it's kind of hard to be too mad at it. Except I am mad. Except I'll never spend that much money, even if I had that much money. I'm not doing it.
It's a wild amount of money for a one-night event.
To come back to that question, though, is it good or bad? I mean, yeah, it's probably a little both, isn't it? In terms of the health of the sport, I think it's pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking it up for reference, like what somebody like WWE does, because they'll do WrestleMania with like 80,000 fans. But the most they've ever done on a gate, from what I can tell, I'm not the biggest WWE guy, but like 3.3 million was their highest gate ever. So, I mean, you're
like very accessible.
Yeah. And especially if it turns out they're doing close to 30K or 30 million, I don't know. I doubt it's going to get quite that close, but let's say it's 25, million or something like that. And Dana isn't exaggerating. Then yeah, you're starting to get to almost 10 times the amount of something or WrestleMania with that
How
amount
is
of fans.
the Just Bleed guy ever going to get in to see one of these shows? Do you know what I mean? It's never going to happen.
Well, Just Bleed dude is definitely a Silver Spoon kid
probably.
for sure. There's a reason why that dude can go apeshit. He probably got arrested after, and his dad paid off the sheriff. It's fine. It's
It
okay.
is interesting that the UFC is doing this well. I mean, I don't know the numbers for anywhere else, but I do know that sometimes they just give away tickets for their shows. So it's
like what we're talking about, the UFC making huge sales. I mean, what does everybody talk about when the latest gaming console comes out? What do the sales look like? What's the best-selling game console? It's an indication of health, if anything.
Yeah.
And it could be a bubble that those exist, but I don't think that's the case with the UFC because they keep selling out arena after arena after arena. I think if it was a bubble, you wouldn't see the ordinary, consumers going out, and you clearly see ordinary people in those crowds. This might not be that as a pay-per-view, but in terms of fight nights, all that kind of stuff, the attendance is through the roof. Everywhere they're going, they're selling out all around the world. It's not in just one market. It's literally globally.
It's crazy though, like, because compare this to like going to see a band. Like, who the fuck's paying 15 grand to sit at the front?
Depends
and see
on the band, man.
You know?
It's just a shame if the boys want to go out to Vegas for a big celebration for all our hard work. It's going to cost us 100 grand to sit on the floor, and it's like, just fucking insane.
We don't deserve to be on the floor because we don't make.
My dad's not a lawyer or a dentist.
I mean,
a high quality dentist.
It is pretty crazy though, because when we went to 286, we got tickets for everybody, and I think I paid $400 a piece for those.
Yeah.
That's pounds, obviously more than US dollars.
Still
but
a lot.
Nowhere near the 1,700 nosebleeds that we were seeing right there.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but it's understandable in a way because it's such an exclusive event to want to go to, isn't it? And they don't come very often. If they come once,
That's what
a year,
makes it worse. And that's why they can do what they do. Because they don't. Because it is so exclusive.
But like, where does all the money go?
Dana's pockets.
Okay, sure. He's
Ari Emanuel's
he's
pockets.
a PIMP, isn't he? Don't know what you heard about
Well, I mean,
me. You ain't
I
never
think
going to get $1 out of me.
Jesus
That's what I'm
Christ.
saying.
Unless you're a Nelk boy, then you
Well,
get loads
yeah,
of dollars.
True.
I mean, you see where a lot of the money goes.
No, but I mean, like, it
the
does
Apex and all
does
that.
go back to the UFC
PI.
though, ultimately. So,
Yeah.
like, even though we're not paying fucking 15 grand, but someone is, and if they're a casual fan, great, take the money, put it back in the UFC, in the flow of the money.
If you pay 15 grand for one of these tickets, you're a fucking idiot.
Whoa,
But I
no, we want
No,
you to pay the money. Keep
But I
paying
respect it. Keep being that fucking idiot. Keep paying the UFC so it gets better.
Yeah, because you're basically paying for one of a fighter's 3 fights a year. Like, so if there's 100 people sat down there in the VIP tickets, they've just paid for like 30 fighters' wages for the entire year with those tickets alone.
Well, here's the fact of it. The more money that goes into the sport, the more money everybody gets. I know the payouts aren't great in terms of it's about 17 to 18% that the fighters get out of the whole of what the UFC makes, as opposed to the NBA where it's like 50%, right? And they get a piece of all the branding deals with the clothing sponsors, the ESPN TV distribution deals, whatever networks they're on.
You get
they
50
get a
grand
piece
as
of
a champion
all that.
in Venom, so you know that.
yeah. There are no royalties, which is crazy. Even pro wrestling has royalties.
If you're a champion, you get 50 grand from Venom, and then everyone else is like, you have to. It's like number of fights.
It's funny how inflation has gone up, but that number hasn't moved since the Reebok deal, right? Like that was the Reebok
To be fair,
agreement.
it's still nice for Venom to do that. It's just you think with the money.
Well,
going
Venom
around,
isn't doing.
Yeah, Venom's not doing that. They've given the UFC money, and the UFC have gone, this is the cut.
UFC is allocating it. Yeah. It's absolutely that. So that is true. They get a very, very minuscule part of, depending on how long they've been in, whatever.
Yeah.
They have no say, no negotiation. It doesn't matter in terms of, none of that's going to change anytime soon. Class action lawsuit failed. We're not going to see any of that stuff change. But the point is, at the end of the day, if there's more money coming into the UFC that attracts newer stars, people that want to make money, they want to be the next McGregor, they want to be the next John Jones, they want to be the next O'Malley, whatever it is, top stars in the sport. And yeah, I do think, the rising tide raises all boats. It's a classic saying, isn't it? So I think that's the part of it. I'm not necessarily happy about it when I want to go to an event and I can't afford it, that kind of thing. But well, cool, guys. I think we'll wrap it up there. Let us know what you guys think about that. I think it's a fascinating one. The UFC seems to be selling literally better than ever on all stratas. I don't know about TV ratings, though. But TV's going down in general. But anyhow, we do need to wrap it up. We got on pretty long here. So I hope you guys have enjoyed that. If you do want to see the entire video that we put together here, about 45 minutes longer than we expected to chat about this, hit us up on that members button just below. Just click join or click the link and you can join for just $2.99 a month. For just $15,000 for VIP,